way he's got new lights and his shirt to match.
Let
So,
me switch to these. I
oh
love
yeah,
these.
dude. The what do you call that? It's a mono glass. I don't even know what to
Yeah, I
refer to
don't
it
know the
as.
exact term for it, but whenever I do wear these, I feel like I'm in the future.
Cyclops shade. I think
Eh,
that's what we'll call it.
Cyclops shade. I like
Yeah.
that. And you can actually see my three monitor setup through these glasses. So that's pretty neat.
Dude, that is pretty rad. Rocking three
Yeah,
monitors.
I sure am. Sure am. I have been for the past like week or so. Yeah, so
Oh, nice.
over the before a week before the 4th of July, I took a break and decided, you know what, let me gift myself another extra 27-inch monitor.
Yep.
Spent a good hour or two at Best Buy just looking at specs. Because it was just going to be like a browsing monitor, so nothing crazy. Wasn't going to use it for color correction or anything like that or for graphics. Just something with like, a high anything over 60 hertz will be great. Maybe use it for my casual gaming, which I don't do as much as I want to.
We
Uh,
we ain't got no time for that.
we don't. And by the
Yeah.
time I want to, I was like, I don't want to spend more screen time. I'm still like reading books.
That's the thing I always struggle with is like every working moment is in front of a screen. So like having hobbies that also involve a screen is problematic because I gotta take a break.
Yeah. The irony is like I want to take a break. I think I deserve a movie, more screen time.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's I've been trying to practice a little bit more disconnecting from that sort of thing and just again reading books. I've been reading inside Steve's mind or inside Steve's mind. I think that's
Oh
the
yeah,
name of the book.
you when you were here in Portland, right? You went to Pal's and you picked up the crazy
Yeah.
biography by Isaac. I forget his name, but it's yeah, dude, that's like the definitive work on Jobs.
Yeah. It's not that one. I have the audiobook for that one. But
Okay.
this is a different book. This is Inside Steve's Brain by Leander Canny.
Okay.
It's a bit dated. I think Steve Jobs was still alive. I'm only a few chapters in while this book was out, but very impressive nevertheless. I mean, I was just telling my wife this morning, I was like, it's crazy how like Steve Jobs was he he came back to Apple all while like also being CEO of Pixar for 10 something years. And like it's wild to think that he was a CEO for Pixar for 20 something years, starting from Toy Story, leading up to I think Cars, the movie Cars, and all while launching the iPhone and like
Yeah,
stripping
dude.
away the products that wasn't working for Apple and just like saving Apple from bankruptcy, literally. And here we are today. Fast forward 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
You know,
It's crazy. I don't really like Pixar is such like a footnote for him, which is insane because it's like the biggest animation studio in the world and has made such a, insane impact on our culture. But it's just like one of the things he did, and it feels like it's so secondary to everything with Apple. Um, yeah,
yeah.
dude, the guy was tapped in, for sure.
Totally. He was in tune with himself. He was in tune with the world, with culture, with everything. And man, he's truly that those kind of minds are truly missed and um, completely changed the way we see animations and movies.
Yep.
So it's kind of wild. Fun fact, and I've said this before, I used to work at Apple as one of the sales guys in the retail stores. They call them
Oh, that's
specialists.
cool. I didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah, back in Miami Beach, the Miami Beach store, which is a pretty wild place. That's yeah, had all sorts of like characters come into the store watching things they weren't supposed to watch and like a security guard selling, iPhones and Apple Cares and all that trying to meet the goals for the day. But I was there the year that Steve Jobs died, and I remember receiving that email, and it was a pretty sad day. It was a
Yeah.
sad day as a company, and it was wild. It was wild just to be part of that history to some capacity. It's Yeah, I was only there for a year and I just couldn't take it. My car was towed in Miami Beach like two times. It was hard to find parking. The characters and so many people from all, because Miami is like a melting pot of cultures. We'll get a bunch of people from the Philippines and from Brazil. Like at the time, Brazil was like their economy was thriving, so they'll come and we'll get a bunch of like Brazilians just buying iPads left. They'll the way that they pronounce iPad will be iPadgy. Oh, we're looking for an iPadgy. Like, I automatically knew what they were looking for. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, I just couldn't take it anymore. It was just way too much, and I was having a kid, and like, yeah, let me just find another crazier job, less crazier job.
Yeah. I don't know if you succeeded on that front because we've got pretty crazy jobs at the moment.
I think it
Uh,
trained me. It trained me
yeah,
for it to some degree.
absolutely. Trained you to stay nimble. Well, I think that's a great segue to, I guess, provide a bit of update of like where we are, what's been going on with augmented imagination, and what's the latest.
Yeah.
So it's always kind of weird because we're right. We've got several of these in the can. So uh, as we sort of talk through things, there's a delay with what's happening and where we're at right now. But I guess essentially the latest, right? The last episode we talked about, you were here in Portland. We recorded that episode together. Talked about this sort of, I want to say pivot, even though I guess it was a pivot in so many ways, but it was like this clarifying, this focusing of what we're
Yeah.
doing, the product we're creating, right? That sort of stemmed out of the conversations that Mike and Jesse had on the train ride down. And then after that, we sort of dove right in. We immediately started building a new brand for our new product,
Mm-hmm.
putting together a new pitch deck, and then Jesse and Mike sort of work their magic. And again, the power of community and the power of relationships, which as we keep saying, like that is our killer product.
That is
That's
everything.
what's setting the Think ecosystem apart. Um, like got on the line with potential technology partners and more or less got us some pitch meetings to pitch this new, more focused, clarified product after we built the deck. And we did that last week and it went super well. So
It did.
uh, not 100% locked in, but it sounds like more than likely we've got our technology partner. We're sort of working through high
Mm-hmm.
level specs, engineering specs with them right now. So they more fully understand the ask. But our understanding is like they're in, and it sounds like they probably have, I don't know, 75 to 90% of the actual tech built.
Yeah.
And we're just going to be repurposing it. So,
Which
yeah,
is
it's pretty,
perfect
pretty
for
exciting
us.
times.
Yeah. Because really, I mean, what excites me the most is not only the tech, but what we can slap on top of it, right? The experience. And which kind of echoes and goes with our expertise, right? Like we don't know what's inside Photoshop and Premiere and Illustrator, but we know what works, what makes it work, and that's our goal with this Supermodels product is just to make it work. And Steve Jobs, going back to Steve Jobs, right? He says design is form, and that's exactly what we're trying to approach this product with a keen eye and on design and experience. And it's that was a wild week. Portland was a wild week, and we've done this should be episode number 5 once it's
Yep.
out. Some wins. Episode 2 just dropped literally like 30 minutes ago. We have Patrick helping us out with social content. We're doing a little bit of that as well. I have my wife set up back here. She's not here right now, but I have her
The
set up over
editor's
here
suite.
doing she's doing
Yeah.
some editing. And and since we're building in public, we're open about our process. Jonny and I, when we first started our podcast, we started using like different platforms, just trying to see which one will make the whole recording and production very seamless. And because we know how we're going to be restricted with time. So the editing, she did a killer job. She edited all 4 episodes already. They're up on YouTube with copy, with tweets already. I have a doc filled with captions, copy for the tweets and the post. So yeah, we're in a good spot. Yesterday, also we met Crystal Wizard. I don't know if she's fully doxed, but Crystal Wizard, who will be helping us with some of the Discord setup. I wouldn't say
Yeah.
management, but definitely with the setup. So, what do you think of
Yeah.
her yesterday
She
when you
was,
met her?
I mean, she was fantastic, dude. She gave us sort of a master class, and it was almost like a high level community engagement strategy session. And you could tell like her depth of understanding of one, just like Discord, but how to really structure it and engineer things in a way to fully engage your community and sort of like empower your community was really cool and really helpful. And again, just like a depth of understanding, right? She's been working with like big projects for several years now. So she definitely did us a favor by just sharing her expertise, sharing her skills. Yeah, and giving us a high level overview of how to set things up initially and kick things off. And I guess that's been alongside, right? This is the fun of sort of building a company, building a brand. You've got to be doing multiple things at once. So we're sort of working on clarifying the vision, pitching partners. We're also going to get going on sort of a fundraising deck this week. But then the other big push we've been doing is what you've been heading up, Sway, and doing a killer job at is just like building our sort of community engagement platforms and figuring out like a real nice cycle for that and how to leverage all of these different sort of right these sharing platforms, these places to come together and interesting ways to sort of like engage the community. So like the Discord's been kicking off. We did something really fun last week where we've been teaching these workshops on Thursday afternoons
Mm-hmm.
and just sort of engaging the community. We did our first one. It was just kind of a high level overview, talking through Mid-Journey, sort of exploring the new video features. The following week, you went a little bit deeper on like video workflows, but we're doing this while sort of engaging the community and challenging them to use these tools. And we're actually like crowdsourcing pieces of what will become our podcast intro. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll show up on this episode or maybe a later one. But essentially, the community is working with us to uh, create a bunch of little logo vignettes, and then we're going to edit that together with some other pieces we create, some sort of intro graphics. I spent some time over the weekend creating a theme song in Suno, which was really fun and I'm
No,
really
that's
stoked
awesome.
on.
Yeah, you dropped that
So
on the Discord as well.
yeah, yeah. So we're just kind of like creating these bits and pieces in real time, inviting the community to make it with us, and all the while kind of giving them a bit of perspective on like these tools, our creative process, and then hopefully they'll see like how you take these individual isolated pieces and then bring them together into something where like right the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So yeah, that's really exciting, and I can't wait to see how it all comes together.
Yeah, it's just pretty wild. It's pretty wild how much we have done. Flew to Portland,
It's a blur,
right?
man.
Got to meet I got to meet you. We shot a documentary, we did a podcast, for Think. We did a podcast for Augmented Imagination, came back, pitched, right, pitched Supermodels to our potential tech partner.
Yep.
Um, got a things are looking good. Right now, we move on to the next stage where we have to work on a product spec sheet, and mind you, like me and Jonny, we hardly have any experience in these things. We that's why we really stress this is an artist led project, right? Right now, we're really swimming in territory we've really never been. And thankfully, being part of the Thinks Incubator, we get that sort of advisement. We get to build relationship where, swimming in those territories becomes easier, right? We've met with Lenny as well, who's the head of AI for Think and who'll be running Souls. Help us Souls right now. It's without going too deep into detail. It's being worked on, getting ready to be shared to the community. So she's leading that along with the engineers. So we got some advisement from her, some things that she, for the most part, great positive feedback. We were pointing towards the right direction, and she just came in with the hard questions. Right now, your goal is to build a proof of concept. Focus on that. V1, we can focus on later, but proof of concept needs to be clear. So the engineering team who is going to come on board to help you out, they know exactly what to do. So you almost need to create that separation between what you want will be pretty to have and what you want later for V1. So specificity is very, very important, and just being grounded, right? Being grounded. That's what I learned throughout the process. Because the goal right now is proof of concept, go to marketing, branding, and engaging and growing our community, which where a lot of people fail, right? Because it's so easy now with vibe coding to build a product, but they have no go to marketing plan. They don't know how to fund themselves. They can't create communities. Therefore, it's hard to sell a product. It's easy to build one, but very hard to sell it.
Yep.
And we're in a good place where, fingers crossed, we're able to put a really good product out there. And we know how this startup world is. It could possibly not even work out for us. But at the end of the day, we come out with so much knowledge and so much value. And again, the relationship that we've built throughout the way, it's like, if we're smart and don't burn any bridges, those relationships can be used for the next thing.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and that's really the value, and something our buddy Josh Ong really I think burned into us when he was working alongside us in the early kind of 6079 days, is just like stay nimble, right? Because we're gonna have to
totally.
pivot. We're gonna have to kind of roll with the punches and change our approach. And I've already been thinking about this with like supermodels and what we want to build. And there's so many ways that like even if this like right. The current use case, if we don't move forward with that, there's so many other directions we can sort of take things and sort of spin things off, that I feel really good and really, really positive about it, because the foundational sort of utility of what we're building, there could be 1,000 different applications. So right now,
Yeah.
right, we have a very specific go-to-market plan. We have a way to sort of tailor it to a certain audience that we have sort of deep inroads with. But if we find that like maybe some of the expense of like creating these supermodels, the custom trained models, is too expensive for, an individual, there are ways we could pivot and make it like a B2B play. So you
Yeah.
have to be sort of doing these calculations as you're going and thinking through these ways where you can, right, kind of stay the course, but like you might have to move around a mountain or whatever it may be. And again, like that's why it's so important to have like a clear sort of belief and vision, as your sort of North Star, where just kind of keep tracking with that. And then you can move around, whatever sort of comes between you and that goal. But yeah, to your point, Sway, we are, Right. We're very talented and well versed in sort of building a brand, building a
Yeah.
community, doing the go to market. And we don't have the deep technical knowledge that a lot of our sort of friends and people in our community do. So, the beauty of, again, like building these things in the open and building as community is like lend your superpowers to each other. And that was really our pitch to this technical partner saying, like, yo, we're really good at brand. We're really good at user experience. We're really good at the
Mm-hmm.
go to market and building a community. We're already actively doing these things. We just need a technical partner to come in and help us on the back end and actually engineer these things. So it's like a win win. So, yeah, that's something I would just encourage everybody to think about and really hone in, like, what is my superpower? What am I good at? And then find somebody who has skills, superpowers that sort of complement your own and going together on this
Yeah.
stuff because, right, we're getting with AI, everybody's like individual capabilities are so much bigger, but it's still such an undertaking to like create a product, build a brand, and launch something that you've got to have partners to do that with. You know, a few years down the line, this may not be the case, and right, we'll as we keep talking about, very soon we're going to see the first one-person billion-dollar company. I think somebody already built. I forget what it was. It was like one individual, but they sold their company, I think maybe to Anthropic or something for like 600
Oh,
million. So, right, it's getting there, it's approaching, but it's not quite there yet. And the other thing is like it's just more fun to build things collaboratively and
oh,
together.
absolutely.
So, like building in community is the way to go. Um, and again,
And those kind of people are just an anomaly, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's one person to be able to do it all, build it, have a go-to-market plan, and be successful, customer acquisition, and just to be a solid company, you know.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it takes a
Jobs had
particular
Wozniak, right? Like even like,
exactly.
you know, there's
Yeah,
always there's always there's always multiple individuals and some key partners there, even if they might not be in the limelight the same way as, you know, Steve Jobs or whoever else.
right, right. And I like that because on the theme of like augmenting yourself, right? It's not about it shouldn't be confused with like, hey, you need to do it all. You need to know it all. Like now that you know design, pick up code. Now that you know code, pick up how to build websites and stuff. Like we know how that is, and we've been trained. I guess the industry is kind of like forced us to think that way because for sake of survival. But it doesn't have to be that way. And if you strategically form those relationships to help you augment, to help you, you know, with sort of collaborations that can help you excel and bring these projects to life, you'll find yourself in a better place. I was something that I picked up from the uh, from the whiteboard session and vision session that we had with Mikey. It was he really stressed on how our belief statement, like, was our north star, and he clearly said if there's any changes, if there any pivots, always go back to that north star and ask yourself that question: will you jeopardize that? So anything, for example, that Lenny, any hard questions, any hard questions or any like pivots that, for example, Lenny was um was encouraging us to do, my go-to response was, will it jeopardize privacy? Will it jeopardize ownership? Because at the end of the day, that's what I want our customers to have. So can we get our tool to achieve that to some capacity? And we know it's a bit of a stretch too, and it's a bit difficult, right? Because we talked about how with since Lenny again, she's like literally a doctor in artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
We went into the weeds of like, okay, how to, like, what does it take to do a fully tuned model training for certain amount of images? It takes a lot of resources, computer resources, financial resources. It takes a lot. So to kind of scale that, it's a bit difficult. So that's something that Jonny and I were working on. Is that okay? So we're going to focus on this lower based approach. and still with that focus again on privacy and ownership. And that's where we're at now. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's looking like it's possible, which is really exciting, but it all sort of clarifies through the process. You just have to like keep pushing on that stuff and yeah, figure out the best approach. Cool. So that's a good kind of progress update. Yeah, dude. I would love to talk through just some of the things we've got in process we've been making as of late.
yeah,
And the one that's top of mind for me, and I'm pretty sure we'll be fine to discuss this because it will have been live by the time this goes live, is the What is Think video.
yeah,
And just kind of talking through the process with that because this is something we've been working on for a few weeks. It was a really big undertaking because we've got a big campaign happening on the Think side right now. And essentially, you and I were tasked with creating this video, as I kind of put it, like that would be sort of the front door to the ecosystem, like 90-second, 2 minute high level overview that hopefully would clarify and explain what the holistic Think ecosystem is in a way where it would be like, right, it's the elevator pitch for the ecosystem. It would give somebody a base level understanding of it within a minute and a half, 2 minutes, which is really hard to do because it's very complex. And like, as we've discovered working on it for a couple of years now, and I'm sure you you've had the same experience as I have where you try to explain to sort of family members, friends, what you're working
yeah.
on, and then you get a little ways in and they're just like, I don't know what the words coming out of your mouth mean right now. Um,
Sounds cool.
but I think we've really got it into a good place now. And that sort of began with, I would love to just kind of like do a high level overview of how we sort of right, we almost sort of ping pong these things back and forth between each other. So it really began with, yeah, you can talk about this process a little bit, but you coming up with like the script and working with almost like a knowledge base AI that you've trained up on
Yeah.
the Think ecosystem to create like a real high level overview, again, like succinct script of what the ecosystem is.
Yeah, so I was assigned with the responsibility of doing the copy for this video, and the workflow, the AI integration to creating this copy was very similar to other projects that I've done. You know, Professor Sway, the previous What is 6079 videos, and what is Wire, and all those, where pretty much and now it's much more familiar. The process is much more familiar than before, but I've been literally doing this for over a year, where you can create your own like knowledge base inside ChatGPT or Claude. And this knowledge base for this script was just information that came from the website, FAQs, from the white paper, from like transcripts from like previous podcasts, just giving the LLM that context that it's needed, and also provided templates from previous projects, specifically What is 6079, which was a script and a video that I think did a pretty good job in doing and explaining and giving a high level breakdown of what the protocol was. So I took that as a template as well, along with all this knowledge base, again, the FAQs and the white papers, and just simply asked ChatGPT, hey, you know, use a script as a template. Here's what you need to know. Now explain to me, like if I was 5 years old, like what is thing, right? Um, then I end up landing with a couple of drafts that I was happy with. I went in myself and started, editing, doing some things, and the copy itself ended up being like a very open collaboration. And then shared that with when Mikey and Jesse wanted to make sure we were using the right wording and terminology, and also needed, Felix's eyes and make sure, we weren't saying anything that we shouldn't, legally and that sort of thing. We landed on a script that we liked, and then that ended up turning into a scratch, you would say, a scratch audio of, just so we can start getting, a feeling of the direction and where this project could go. The scratch audio led into music selections, and we went through several iterative process and ways that we can go about approaching this video. Whether, was it better to do like a VO with AI, or should it be Mikey doing it, or should it be a live video of Mike and explaining the video, or reading the script, um, until we finally landed with just using Mikey's audio as the guide for the video. And I don't know if you presented in one of the podcasts already your animation boards,
Oh,
but
did we look at storyboards already? I was trying to think. I'm like, I think maybe we
I'm not
had, but I
sure.
can't
But I
remember.
but I think it's fine to do it again. I mean, you just breeze through it,
Yeah,
and
I can
yeah,
just very quickly. So basically, as Sway just mentioned, he does all of that, right? Gets the script locked in. We get a voiceover to kind of figure out like the rough timing. And then from there, I take it, you can see in the notes here, like I sort of time out almost every frame with like what is happening in the audio and how do I explain that sort of visually, right? Because we want this to land as quickly as possible. So it's just giving people like dropping kind of multiple anchors in your mind of like, okay, I'm tracking with this visually, I'm hearing what it's happening. So it's like this multimodal learning, just so you can very quickly understand it. So I basically take that and kind of frame by frame create storyboards just using kind of vector assets and elements I already have created for the brand. So right, this is all sort of the artwork we use for the Think token, the brand, all throughout that. Integrating some of our like mid journey visuals to create some more depth and just add almost like these different dimensions of reality of kind of what's happening as we're explaining things, uh, but just mapping out this entire journey that again corresponds very directly with what is being explained in the audio, what's being explained in the voiceover. Right, creating this fun little agent character, giving him all sorts of like emotions, uh, right? Creating graphics that explain this idea of it being sort of your personal agent, reinforcing that in various ways, showing the functionality. Um, and yeah, just like I can zoom out here to show you like the overall
well,
storyboards and just taking the viewers through this entire journey and hopefully explaining things in a way that it just like lands immediately and makes a lot of sense. um, so we essentially, I create all this as like the base artwork. Then we hand this off to our buddy Yvonne, who handles all of the animation. Basically brings all of this to life, adds his own little touches, his own little flourishes, figures out these really cool transitions to take it to the next level. And then we essentially take that and then we volley that back over to Sway, which you sort of gave it this final pass of kind of new VO, adding sound
yeah.
design, all of that. And I would love because I honestly don't know how you do the sound design stuff, but man, does that
I
add so much
don't
to
even
the
know how to do it
video.
myself.
It just there's something, and we were talking about this in one of the other groups we're a part of with Story First Studio, how you wouldn't think of it, but those little sound touches, they really pull you into what you're
Oh,
viewing in a way that
absolutely.
like you cannot appreciate until you see kind of with and without.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Johnny. So
Yeah.
when you start working on your boards, is that right now what we're seeing is sort of not the final product, but close to it.
Yeah.
Are you doing
background.
sketches, or this is kind of like a stream of conscious sort of thing? You're just going board by board by board. How I want to know how this is that okay, we're going to go from this frame to this frame. Like I'd like to know that process. Are you drawing these things first, or?
So it really depends. Like with the Think stuff, like I have so much of the brand built, and I probably have like a file open here. But oh yeah, here we go. Think brand assets master. Oh, that's not it. Um,
Ooh, alpha
there's a
right there.
little preview of something else though. Think Mandarin for everybody. But essentially, like if it's something I don't have a bunch of artwork already existing for, I will start with like thumbnail sketches and just kind of sketch everything out and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
But with this, we have such like a defined aesthetic, a defined brand, and I have so many of these pieces built for other things that I'll just go straight vector here. And it really is like it's a bit of a right. It's one of those projects that really hurts my head because it's so much of just like visualizing and trying to conceptualize like these very complex concepts, right? The idea of like a non-fungible intelligence that is not just a digital asset. Like you just hear
Yeah,
those words and you're like, wow, that's abstract as hell. What does that mean? Like, so
totally.
trying to like solidify that into something that, right, means something and is it feels like oh yeah that's what it is. It's this little agent character, right? It's your personal AI. So bringing in the thumbprint, just little ways to sort of communicate what's happening again in the vover, the voiceover, the script, is really the goal. So it's a lot of just like listening to the script over and over and kind of visualizing and then going in and kind of laying down those vectors. So one of the things I'll do, and this is awesome because this will be an opportunity for me to talk about my flow hacks, my flow state stuff a little bit. But for
Ooh.
instance, like after you create the script and give me the audio, I'll essentially put my headphones on, put that on loop, and I'll just go for a long walk. And I'll often do so. One of my sort of flow hacks, which again this will become an entire segment on the podcast at some point. Um, but one of the ways you can really trick yourself into a flow state, one, just by going on a walk, you're activating the two hemispheres of your brain. And what's happening in a flow state is basically the left and right hemispheres of your brain start communicating directly with each other, and your prefrontal cortex kind of shuts down. So it's just like more efficient. But one of the ways you can sort of encourage that sort of cross hemisphere thinking is just to go for a walk, because just by right the virtue of using the two different sides of your body, you're activating the two different hemispheres of your brain. And then if you do what's called box breathing, which is basically just like cyclical breathing. So you can go, you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, you exhale for 4 seconds, then you hold at the bottom for 4 seconds. So I'll basically do that as I'm walking and timing out those sort of seconds with my steps. That kind of like it essentially like distracts your prefrontal cortex and like gives it something to like focus on. Meanwhile, your sort of subconscious, or the two hemispheres of your brain,
It's
they're
doing all
just
the work.
absorbing, right, the script. I'm just listening to Mike explain this over and over
Yeah,
again in my head. And sure enough, like I do that for 5, 10 minutes, and like things just kind of start to come to me. I start to sort of imagine these sequences in my head, visualizing them in my head as I'm hearing it. So I'll do that for maybe like 20 minutes, start to get a lot of ideas, and then I'll just sit down and like no distraction, don't check your email, don't do anything else. Just get right to work and start building, my storyboards. So that's kind of the process. So I basically like load all of that up in my subconscious, and then ideally when you sit down and start to work, it just kind of flows out of you.
that's great. Love that kind of process.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I think this is a good opportunity just to show people. I'm not gonna play anything, but just to show people how the sound design looks, the setup looks. Can you see my screen?
got it. Yep.
Yeah. So the processing, I'm gonna mute so it won't play anything as I talk because that kind of messes me up. So this is a video here that you guys already probably seen. Let me just full screen here. The blue is the voiceover. The green is the music. So I'm doing some like ducking here just to make sure that it's not overpowering what's being said. And the red here are the sound effects. Sound effects that will complement and enhance and hopefully create some sort of like literally an immersive experience, right? That's kind
Yeah.
of like how I like to see it, where I kind of picture not only myself, but I'm trying to picture the viewer, right? Like what are they experiencing as they watch this? Um, and then of course, listening over and over and over and checking levels and making sure nothing it's not standing out too much than what they should. Um, my kids are making noise in the background. You guys hear that? Or you hear that by any chance?
I think I heard a little something, but it was just for
Oh,
a
okay,
second.
just yeah. My world, and that's I am very hyper aware and hyper alert, especially when I'm trying to concentrate and things like that are happening outside the. But it also it's kind of like my superpower too, right?
Yep.
So and I think that's as close as an answer I can give you to like how does Sway do it? Well, I'm trying to really bring life to this and just bring in collections of sounds that just make sense. Now, mind you, I am not recreating sounds. I'm not actually layering sounds or creating things from scratch. These are things that I'm finding, sounds that I'm finding from like subscriptions that I have and for sound banks, for music and sound subscriptions that I have. And it's just really auditioning and browsing and looking through what makes sense. I think luck has a lot to do with it. Like I could stop sharing. Luck has a lot to do with my process because I often end up landing on tracks that just work. Right? There's really no intensive like searching or anything like that. I just look for the right category and kind of like you, right? Like I'm already in tune. Like my subconscious is already understands what needs to be delivered. So when I'm browsing through music, it says like, yeah, this is the one. And 80% chance, for the most part, it knocks it out the park. But still they're in the process, since it's collaborative, and there needs to be an openness to it, right? Because Jonny described his process. I described my process, but in no way does it mean that it's perfect and that we're right. Um, since this is a collaborative thing, there needs to be that openness where, well, open to suggestions, open to maybe Jonny saw something that you didn't see. Maybe I saw something in the design that Jonny didn't see. And and since we have that healthy relationship, you know, and what we're really doing is serving the product and serving the audience,
Yep.
that's all that matters at the end of the day. We end up with work that we're really proud of, and that, there's tons of stuff that I've done that I'm so embarrassed to show, but none of the stuff that I've worked along with Jonny in the past, projects 6079, Think, and now Augmented Imagination, and am I embarrassed to show? Because it's each project has always, and I think I'm not only speaking for myself, I'm speaking for everyone involved. We've In every project we've leveled up, right?
Yep.
Creatively, somehow, to some capacity, whether it's with what we're considered masters of and the things that we're not so masters of. So again, like when I dive into writing the script, um, I'm also thinking about visually, right? I want to make sure, and I'm thinking about the audience. I want to make sure that I understand it at the end of the day, that it makes sense to me, and maybe I pass this along to someone who doesn't really understand the mechanics of like Web3 tokenomics and all this stuff that this world that we're part of. But I really want to see if they get at least something, right? Because we know we're
Yeah.
serving a specific audience, and you can't water down too much. Um, but yeah, the this from the start, I'm thinking visually. I'm thinking, how is this going to sound? How this is going to play out? What visuals can we have here? And all of that is still early and it's in infancy stages. But you'll be surprised how some of that, ends up being part of the final product, which is it's a beautiful thing. Yvonne did an amazing job with the animation. When you dropped that yesterday, I was in awe. I'm like, man, how did this guy? He's an After Effects wizard. Like, I can use
Yeah.
After
Yeah,
Effects,
he
but
is.
just like to defend myself, right? Like, just enough. But this guy, man, the stuff that he does is just like next level stuff. And I'm glad that we used his skills for what is Think, because it's going to be Think is such a precious thing to us, because we've been doing this for over again close to 2 years now, and finally, right? Finally, we get to do this, and again, props to Yvonne for what he did, and I'm glad that I was able to augment the video with
That's
sound
right.
design.
Yeah, love it. Way to come full circle. No, I love what you said there, though, Sway, about working collaboratively. And it's very important for, anybody who does that or creatives. Creatives in particular, you can get like super attached to like your thing, right? Which like always have like your own personal project going, right? Like that's
Mm,
sort of your outlet for like just self-expressions. I always encourage like creatives like have the thing that's just for you, but when you're working in a collaborative environment or a client environment like this, it's important to be like you said open with everything, hold everything with an open hand where it's like I'm going to bring my best self to this. I'm going to contribute what I can contribute, but I'm not going to, right, try to assume the outcome or have too much influence over what other people are going to bring to it. Cause that's when the magic comes in. Like so often, right? The things we collaborate on, like you were said, you have visuals in your head. I might imagine how something's going to go, and then I get something back that's not that, but it's even better than I could have imagined. And I find that like my favorite, like you were saying, you're very proud of everything we've worked on together. Like that's always my favorite work too, is the stuff in which I'm collaborating with others and they bring something to it that I wouldn't have expected, and it makes it something more than I could have imagined.
yeah.
That's kind of the magic of collaborating. And when you have the right sort of outlook and mindset on that, it just makes it an absolute blast. And having the right collaborators, right, where everybody gives each other sort of the space to do their thing, do their stuff. And then you kind of just bring what you bring to it. I think I've probably mentioned it here before, but one thing we always say about like the team we're working in is like we try to approach it like an improvisational jazz band.
Yeah.
It's like Jesse comes in with the vision, right? He's like the drummer. He just kind of lays down a beat. And then we all start to kind of like build on top of that. Everybody gets their chance to kind of solo at some point. But then at some points, you got to like fade into the background and let somebody else
Yeah.
kind of shine. But I love that everybody's on the same page with kind of how we work and how we approach that. And not only does it produce really good work, but I've worked in corporate settings, I've worked in multiple agencies, I've worked in like small brand teams. Like, dude, the amount of stuff we get done and the rate at which we can turn creative projects around compared to anywhere else I've been is like 10x or more. Like, there's just no
Yeah.
comparing it. And we were presenting some stuff to the Think Builders community just the other day, and they're asking like, "How long did you guys have to work on this brand?" And we're like, "A day." Like most of my fellow sort of brand designers, they'll sort of labor over a brand for months. And
Wow.
when I do like outside client work, it's the same way. But when you've got that shorthand and everybody understands kind of the end goal, you can just kind of fly through stuff and embrace those time constraints too, right? It's like we could probably spend another month like tweaking and
Easy.
doing things to this like what is Think video, but like we're in the fastest moving industry of all
We
time.
sure are.
So
Yeah.
you have to embrace these time constraints and like make it as good as you can in the time you have allotted and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that the theme today was like, relationships and collaboration. I was writing down here, it's like the importance of, again, going back to like just having that openness, um, just that willingness to trust the people that you're working with, right? And being full transparent. And when openness, trust, transparency, and when you are open to those things, time is not even a factor, right? Like it does not bother me at all, right? I mean, unless like I'm sick, I have, I'm going through stuff in life, uh, but to deliver at the rate that we've been delivering, and not because I'm a masochist, but it's it's because I truly enjoy being under the fire with my friends. And what you also said reminds me something about Felix. Um, Felix, he ended up having a meeting with us and like really stressed the guys. They really stress our advisors. It's like you need to be transparent with each other. It's
Yep.
like you two are partners. Um, do not reserve, do not assume, be open, and because that will save you a lot of headaches. This is literally a marriage, right? To the
Yep.
point, it was like, where do you asking the hard questions and really like bringing this full circle with what it means for the company? It's like, where do you want to? How do you see the company in a year or two? Where do you see yourself with the company a year or two? What's your exit strategy? What if do you what position do you want to set yourself up with? um do you want to be acquired? Do you want to continue building more products? So all of these questions were just like Johnny and I we're taking it in and going back and forth,
Talking
and
it
really
out.
make talking it out, just making our decisions so we could be on the same page, right? And we could distribute our energies in a balanced way. And again, building on that trust, transparency, and openness is really important when collaborating with someone, with a partner, when building products. Because if that is because I believe that is a reflection of how you're going to treat your customers as well, right? Um,
Yep.
and I believe in like and I believe the universe, some way, somehow, it's going to work in your favor, right? Because you did things right to the T. So yeah, it's wild.
Yep. Amen to that. Yeah, dude. And with that, I think that's a great kind of way to wrap things up and close out episode 5. Yeah, thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. And thanks
Thank
for
you.
following along on the journey. So we'll be back next week with more. And again, as we sort of continue with this, we're going to start layering in more and more to the podcast, some, additional segments, getting a little bit deeper on like how to stuff.
Yeah.
But let us know what you're thinking of everything so far. Let us know what things you'd like to see more of, because yeah, we want to build this collaboratively with the community, and yeah, just keep the train rolling.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for watching. Thank you for supporting. It's a lot of work, right? It's easy to say I want to launch a podcast and talk to my friends and stuff, but if you really want to be seen, it does take a lot of work. We still have to work on our thumbnails. We still need to work on, we're thinking about improving the segments and how we're and the topics that we're going to introduce, and thinking about copy. We're thinking about timestamps, where it's like uploading on YouTube, uploading on Twitter, thumbnails, and like the whole works. We have a running Discord, so you guys check the link below to join our Discord, a thriving community. People are submitting art. It's just wild. They're sharing our stuff. And today, this week, you can follow us on x.com, artist, links below. But this week, we're launching our first X space on Friday. Today is Tuesday. Tuesday.
Yep.
So on Friday, we're launching our X space, and the goal there is just to make it super chill, happy hour, very casual. artists, builders come in, talk with us, get to know us. We'll love to get to know you. By the time you listen to this, we'll probably be on space number 4. So
Yep. Come hang out.
yeah, come hang out.
Perfect. Right on. Well,
All
thanks
right,
everybody.
everyone.
Peace.
Peace.